welcome to the channel. I'm Summer. Today's haircut is going to be perfect for those of you who want some bounce, bend, and movement in your hair with your layers, but you want them to be easy and manageable for styling at home. We're gonna be creating medium layers with our mannequin today. This is gonna be on a side part. I know how much some of you love a good side part haircut. We're gonna be trimming the length as well, going over how much you take off, how much you leave on, and all that good stuff and more. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, so we're gonna get started. We have got lots of length today. It's been a minute since I did like a really long haircut, so I'm excited. Always, like, I think my theme as a whole in this channel is like to maintain our weight and thickness that we naturally have, but it's also gonna be a layered haircut for people who they want to see movement, but they want it to be low maintenance at the same time. So that's where like the idea of medium layers comes into play. It'll give you a little bit more movement than a longer layer will. So if you like curling your hair, all that stuff, you'll get a little bit more volume with it. But medium layers are much more manageable than short of layers. You can pull them back and all that good stuff. So we're gonna be giving lots of movement today with this cut, but keeping it realistic to where it's easy to maintain, but get some shape and movement without jeopardizing the hair. So I am gonna be cutting some length today. This mannequin, their hair sometimes gets so crazy. So as you can see, all in this area, it really needs to come off. I mean, if this were a client in salon, I would assume, you know, that they hadn't had a haircut in quite some time, or, you know, whatever the reason may be, but their ends definitely, I mean, you can completely see through to my hand here, where throughout the top, in the middle, you can't really see it. And then down here, you can really start seeing how straggly it is. So I'm gonna section her off first, and we're just gonna cut the perimeter, and then we will get into our layers shortly. So sectioning, I just do right at the ear here. I separate the back from the sides, and I like to cut my back perimeter and side perimeters first, and then we will go in and create the layers, especially when I know I need to remove some of that perimeter. I just prefer to cut the perimeter first because it lets me know exactly where I want to keep my length. Where sometimes I feel like if you cut the layers first on somebody who does desperately need a haircut on the ends, you kind of lose your guide of how much length you're going to be maintaining through those ends. So I like to do it first. Okay, and now we have all of the back done, and I'm gonna still break this into subsections, so you can split it in the middle if you want. You'll get more control over your sections that way, so you can always make sure you're seeing through to your guide. And so yeah, we're just gonna get the perimeter nice and clean. Forgot to get out my scissors. But yeah, the perimeter is just gonna be a basic, you know, straight across. I'm gonna try to keep it long while still making it look a lot more healthy. I mean, cause this is not it. So I just come down, fine side of my comb, and I'm gonna take off this. I feel like we could go more, but for now I will leave it. And then I can always remove more after I get it cut and dried. So if you had a client who you were like, hey girl, you really need this length removed, and they're nervous about it, meet them in the middle, do your cut, and then after you get it dried for them, show them the back. And if they are comfortable with it and they like how it looks, leave it at that. But if they're like, oh yeah, you're right, we can bring it up, let them be the one to make that decision. Nobody likes when a hairstylist says, well, this is what you need, and so it's what I'm gonna do, you know? So even if you think it'll look so much better if you remove that length, but the client doesn't wanna remove it, then don't remove it. That's not your call. Listen to your client and just do the best cut you can do with what they're willing to remove. So I'm just gonna continue this all the way through the back, and then we'll move into that side perimeter. just gonna have our sides meet the back. I like to just pull some hair from that back section. I will come till when I get to the longest point of the back, because this comes forward now, so it's gonna be a little bit longer. And just blend right in with it. And then before I move to the other side, I'm just gonna re-clip this, just how it was before. Now I'm not taking as many subsections or really any subsections at all with these sides, just because there's not as much hair. I know I'm only removing this little bit, where if somebody had super, super thick hair, I might do more sections. Like the back has more hair than the sides do. So I'm not concerned with really losing my guide too much. And then like I did, I'm gonna just re-section off this front quadrant here so we don't touch that at all for when we go to start our back layers. All right, so now we're gonna start creating our layers in the back. And again, this is meant to be medium layers, so they're kind of like right in the middle. They're gonna have more movement to them than like just traditional long layers, which I call long layers are like the let's play it safe layers. I want some movement, but not really, just a little bit. And then short layers are sometimes way too extreme for people, so medium is right in the middle. So you always, with any layers, want to take into consideration how long the hair is. So we're gonna do that first with our medium kind of layers. We're gonna take a look here, and I'm just gonna grab from the top where her shortest layer would be, which is gonna be this whole crown section. So I like to take this and sort of take a look at where it is we think will give us some movement without being too much, but you'll still be able to get the hair easily into a ponytail. You're not gonna have any pieces coming out. This will also, we'll talk about this with the front of the hair too. So like to me, a long layer would be just removing just this little amount on the ends. You'd have this hair would be coming past the shoulders. That is a long layer. A short layer is gonna be something sort of in this vicinity where you're gonna be able to get a lot of swoop and a lot of bend all the way down. So mid layer, I'm thinking we're gonna be basically right off of the shoulder. So what would be considered like a mid-length haircut. So you'll still be able to get volume, but you're gonna be able to pull it back. You're not gonna have a ton of hair falling in your face all the time. And that's where our shortest layer is gonna be, so we still have movement, but not like out of control. I'm gonna come in the middle now to take my first section. All right, I'm gonna lower her some now because we've already cut our length. So with this whole mid layer in mind, what we're gonna do is I typically usually start at the bottom and I work my way up, but we're gonna start almost from the top here to set our guide. So I'm gonna grab this very top section. So this is right in the crown region. You can see right in here. So that's where I'm gonna start to create my layer. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be combing the hair up, and I'm gonna let it come down to see how far I need to move my fingers to stay in line with where we want our shortest piece to fall. So we get a nice little bounce here above the shoulder. So I like grabbing the hair, lifting it up because this is how we're going to cut it. And then I can come back down, smooth that out, and I'm gonna come right on this shoulder. And we're gonna do a little soft point cut. Look at that. Just right off the shoulder, it's gonna bounce nicely. So now that I've done that, we're just gonna work our way down the rest of the hair, and we're gonna be bringing the hair up more so to the shortest point. We're still gonna be moving our layers. It's not gonna be a complete stationary guide, but we are gonna be sort of over directing the hair in the bottom up a little bit more just to maintain more length and thickness. I'm gonna lower her more. I can't tell if I am out of bounds or not on the camera. So we're coming up. I'm sort of in the middle of these two sections. I'm not completely lifting this back section up. We're just kind of pulling it straight center of our two ends here. And we're gonna meet at our guide, cut. Come up and check it and just nip anything that might be sticking out. And then I'll show you how big each section is. So I'm just coming in and I'm just taking, it might be 1 inch here of a section, nothing crazy. Enough that I can still work through it in my comb, but not lose control. So now I'm gonna drop out some of this first original guide. We're gonna do the same thing. So this is over directing up just a slight amount. We're not pulling it all the way straight. We're coming out sort of meeting in the middle, but we are technically over directing that bottom section that we just grabbed. We're over directing it up a little bit. And you just meet it to your other guide that you've already cut. Let that out. Take your next section here. See the size that I took? And this gets lightly over directed up. You're just gonna comb, and we're kind of getting in territory now where we're meeting. We're not gonna have as much to cut off, so I'm gonna grab a little bit from my previous guide to make sure. Yeah, we have really actually barely anything here. And then all we're gonna do to blend this in is take this last section that we just cut. We're gonna leave out a little of this perimeter here. We're not lifting all of it out. We're gonna pull this straight out and we're just gonna twist. And this will just blend that in perfectly to our baseline. And then if you wanna make sure that it matches, just this little bit of hair right here. So that's gonna allow for a nice flow that goes through from our shortest piece. It's gonna be right at that shoulders. That's gonna flow in nicely down to the rest of the length. So I've got to spritz her already because she's drying out on me. But we're gonna repeat those same exact steps where we start at the top and work our way down. And all you're gonna do is take a little bit from this first guide that we created. So I'm gonna remove some of that we just cut. I'm gonna push it over. And I'm now gonna grab from this next side here to start creating the rest of our layers throughout the back. So we're gonna be moving like a little pie around the head. And once you've set your guide, you'll move through a little bit faster. I mean, don't try to like rush it, but once you've set your guide, you've done sort of the hard part. And you just wanna make sure your sections are nice and clean so you maintain control and you won't have any whoopsies with your haircut. See my guide, and we're just lightly point cutting into that. And lift and cut. So remember, as you move down, you are over directing the hair that you're grabbing. I'll show you that I'm taking this section. I don't know why my mind just had a brain fart there. But they're about 1 inch size sections. And as you move down the head more, you can release some of this top hair. We're gonna comb out. I'll show you on this front camera angle. So instead of like coming straight out here where you'd be sort of parallel with the head, you're just lifting it up a little bit more to create that slight over direction, which is going to help maintain more length and weight in your layers. And take from our previous guide, keeping in those little pie shapes. And just rinse and repeat through the rest of the side, and then we'll get into the other side of the back. And you'll notice as you move through the hair, when you're taking proper sectioning, like at each point, you're gonna always have the same amount of hair to cut off in each section. Now, if somebody had like some weird layers or something, let's say maybe they ruined their hair, they had a bad haircut or something was just done to it bizarrely, you might find that the layers aren't matching up everywhere when you go to like fix the haircut. But if you are working with, like, let's say somebody just hasn't had a haircut in a long time, they haven't touched their hair in months. When you go through each section, you're gonna notice the same exact amount of hair coming off. So the sections help you keep consistency to make sure it's even all the way around. There's nothing worse than trying to rush by just taking like 2 big sections in one go. Make sure you just take your time, taking the appropriate amount of sections to give a good haircut. So that goes for if you are a stylist in salon giving a haircut to your client, or if you're somebody cutting hair at home, like either on yourself or a loved one, just take the appropriate sections and take your time and you'll come out with a good haircut. And we're gonna let out our perimeter here. And we're just gonna meet, twist. And again, like there has been this whole time, we have this light hair again. It's hard to see, just barely any to cut. So at this point, I'm gonna re-spritz the hair down because again, the hair dries out. You're not gonna get the same tension throughout cutting your layers. So you wanna make sure you re-spritz so you get the same exact tension on this other side, that the hair's not too dried out. That's how you can wind up having uneven layers. So if you've gone through one side and you're like, oh, my hair's starting to get a little dry, spritz it down, keep a water bottle by you at all times. So we're gonna come back to the middle. I'm a little too much over here. And you'll just continue taking your parting the same as we were on that other side. You're just gonna come back, find your original guide to move in to your sections on this side of the head. And again, we're gonna start at the top. So in that whole crown region. And we're gonna comb straight up. And I see that previous guide I cut and blend in. Next section. And remember, you're just slightly over directing this bottom part, coming up at it from an angle rather than coming straight out from the point of which you're grabbing it. So that's where we're getting that slight over direction. Drop that perimeter, come out, and you're gonna twist your fingers and cut. And then you can grab this hair from your previous sections if you wanna make sure that it blends. We have the babyest amount there to blend this in nice. And then we're taking just this last little bit, not the whole perimeter. And we're gonna come out and you're gonna sort of twist as you glide through and just skim that right off. 2 more sections here and then we get to move into our side. And we have our last section. Grabbing from the top here, and we're coming all the way up, cut, and repeat. All right, so now let's take a look at the back first before we come into the front. Okay, so we have our perimeter cut and our layers are cut. We have a much, much better perimeter than we did when we started. It's like night and day. But so let's take a look. We have our shortest layers are right here in this middle region. So we're gonna be right at those shoulders. It's gonna create a lot of movement. And all I'm gonna do is just double check. So I'm just gonna come straight across the top. So a similar section as you did to create your guide in that crown. And we're just gonna come straight across here. And I'm gonna lift it all up to make sure we're matching. So you'll just comb up and look at that. It's perfect. Good sectioning is key. So now that we've done that, I am just going to brush this and get it completely back and away from the front. We don't need it right now at all. So I just come in and use my clips, secure that away. So now for the front, the face framing. So of course this mannequin dried out, so we're just spritzing her down. So the face frame is all personal preference. You can do a shorter face frame if somebody wanted a shorter face frame, but they want the medium to long layers in the back, you can customize it. We're gonna keep this in line with wanting to be able to get this hair tucked behind the ears. Maybe they're okay if they have like 1 or 2 strands falling, but the guideline is gonna be that we can tuck this hair. So I like to grab sort of the front little triangle of our face frame. And I like to literally just see how far it needs to come to get tucked behind the ear. So I'll visually look at that and then I will literally do it with my fingers. So I'm gonna come, so you can see my fingers are draped to where the hair would be tucking and wrapping around that ear. And I'm gonna take a look at where it is. So we're a good little inch below the chin. So if you're not like familiar with like 1 to 2 inches, you could also come in and like use your fingers as a sort of rule of thumb here for you of how long it would be. So we're in that 2-finger mark for myself from her chin to where we want the shortest piece to be. So now that I've done that, we're gonna come in and I'm gonna take this in half because this is way too big of a piece for me to wanna just hack away at and cut. It's not gonna lead to anything good. So we're gonna separate this into 2 sections. And we're gonna comb down with it. I'm gonna use the fine, not the fine side of my comb, the wide side of my comb. So I don't wanna pull like too crazy of tension. I want it to like loosely fall because if you pull it too tight, you're gonna end up having like where it gets shorter because it shrinks. So try to keep it with minimal tension. So we're gonna come down. We can take a visual look here. We're in that 2-finger range. And all I'm gonna do is start my face frame. So we're gonna do just like a typical traditional face frame where I just sliver down into it. Okay, so again, try not to pull too much tension. Wide side of your comb, take a look at it, use your fingers, and that's where my shortest point is going to need to be. So all I'm gonna do is I like to come in and we're just gonna sliver right down into that. So we've got this nice angle here. It's gonna be so pretty. And again, our shortest piece here easily can still come, and we can easily get that tucked behind the ear there. So we're just gonna move through, same as I typically do with the face frame. I like to work in small sections at a time to maintain the control I need. So I'm gonna grab this hair. I'm gonna stay using the wide side of my comb, just slightly combing that down. And we're just gonna follow from our previous cut, and we're just gonna glide down with it. And I'm trying to hold my shears a little bit more straight. I don't wanna like angle them back towards the shoulder too much because I wanna maintain the weight and thickness. So the more you like, if I were to come and take this and sliver out this way, you're gonna be removing more length. So in the times where somebody wants to maintain length through their face frame but just shape it up, try to have your shears moving more so in a straight down angle rather than back. And all I'm doing when I come and take these sections from the back of the head, I'm just taking a little bit out of a time, about 1-inch size pieces. So we can see we have a nice flow going down. We're still gonna get a lot of shape, but without jeopardizing the length or where it's gonna be too hard to maintain. So now that we have cut the face framing layers, that sort of like sets the guide and tone. So all we're gonna do is starting from the back. So you would take your section. We're just gonna lift this out. And we're gonna come forward across the face to create a little bit more of a layer to just blend everything in. So that way we don't have just like, people like weight and thickness around their face, but sometimes if it's too heavy or too bulky, you're not gonna be able to get your style to like flow as well sometimes. Like the layers will just look a little too chunky, or when you go to curl your hair, there'll be too much weight that will take out your curl. So that's why I like to go in through and just break it up a little bit with a soft layer. So I changed the angle here, so hopefully we can see better. We're gonna come up, comb that hair. So come up, and then we're gonna come forward, sort of towards in the face while I'm twisting. So this perimeter falls completely. And we're just gonna cut this. So this will help blend into the layers in the back while removing a little bit more thickness here so we get that shape, but you're not jeopardizing the weight line and length of the hair. So again, we're coming all the way up. We're gonna go in across the face. You're gonna twist till that perimeter falls and just point cut into that. And then I'll come straight up and I'll check it, and that looks good. And you're gonna do this till you get to that very front section. And the closer you get to the front of the face, the less you will have to cut. So this will be our last piece here. So we're grabbing all the hair, coming across, and just barely anything to skim. So now we're gonna create the face frame on the other side. So what you'll do is you'll grab from your original face frame to help you set your guide on the other side. Working little baby triangles. So we're gonna comb this down. You can see we have a shorter piece in here, but it still curves down. So sometimes I like to visually just blend into it, because I feel like if you hold it, it sometimes just creates, like, it'll be harder. So you can hold it in place still with your hands, but we want like a curve here. So all I'm gonna start longer and come up, just because I wanna make sure I don't take too much at one time. And all I'm gonna do is grab this inner corner and the inner corner on the other side. And let's respritz. When the hair sometimes gets too dry, you don't get the same control over it anymore, and sometimes it's harder to see. So just take your time and respritz. So we have just a little bit right here to cut. So now we're just gonna blend in, very easy. And again, we're gonna use the wide side of our comb and try to keep more of a straight angle when creating your face frame, rather than pulling out towards the shoulder. And then we're gonna do the same thing where we take from this back section here. So you guys can see that. Taking from the back. And we're gonna create our soft layers. And we're gonna come all the way up, and we're going across the face, twisting. You let that perimeter fall, and we're just gonna blend in that top. And you're gonna go all the way over and across the face. You'll have all your perimeter here drop, and then you're just gonna blend in what's left. And then when you get to that very front section, you're gonna have a little less hair that you're going to have to cut. So now I'm gonna let out the back hair, and we're gonna comb through everything, and again, spritz down. Make sure everything's even with the level of saturation in the hair, so you have appropriate tension for checking your layers before we go into our blow dry. All right, and now all we're gonna do to check our top layers, let me lower her, there we go. We're just gonna come across the top, how we did similar to the back. And we're gonna even grab a little bit from our back crown. So I'll show you. So we've taken a little bit from this back crown that we cut from for our back layers, and we're gonna just lift everything up to blend the two together. Up, up, up. And we have a little bit more length here, and just even that out. Now all I'm gonna do is come into the side where we had a tiny bit more length here in our top. I'm just gonna lift up. We have just a little bit of length here. Perfect. And then to be on the safe side, we will check the side corner. Sometimes right in the ear area can get where you need a little bit of blending. Yep, just barely right there. Perfect. So I'm going to get her blown out now. I'm gonna use a little bit of Moroccan oil smoothing lotion. She has quite the coarse hair, so I'm gonna work that through, and then I'm gonna give her a nice blowout, and we'll come back and see if we need to do any dry cutting. So now this is where the magic happens. So for her blow dry, I'm using my blow dryer from Sutra. I'll link it below in the description along with the discount code. And I'm also using the Olivia Garden Speed XL in size 65 for creating her shape with the layers. All right, we got her blown out and styled, and she came out real nice and lovely. I gotta say, I'm a little jealous of the hair. So you would definitely wanna look through the hair to see if there's anything you need to cut, dry cut, have your client feel at it, look at those ends. If they want to bring them up, you can, but this actually, the ends are, I think like we took off the perfect amount. It's still nice, thick and full, but we still have a lot of shape. So you would just wanna give a good look at the hair, have your client look through it, look at yourself in the mirror to see if you have any tweaking you need to do, but otherwise, when you take good sections, you usually come out on top. So I'm gonna do some slow-mo shots for you guys and get you out of here. All right, here we have our finished and final look. I am so happy with how this came out. I'm a little envious of this mannequin's hair, but we have still lots of shape with those layers, keeping them in that medium type of layer. They're not too short, they're not too long. You're still going to be able to get a lot of shape and movement when you go to style this on your own at home. We have lots of shape through the back and lots of shape through our face frame, but everything blends together very well. We can still tuck those face frame pieces behind the ears, and everything just flows in from the sides into the back. I very much love this haircut. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, let me know in the comments below. And in the meantime, I will leave you with this video that you can check out next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.